What is happening, Boot Junkies? Mike Delgadio here, back with another video on home studio setup for VoiceOver. If your social media feeds are anything like mine, you certainly see right now that there is just an explosion of creativity that's happening right now. So many people are creating, they're working together to make something, even though that we're all socially isolated from each other. It's just, the fact of life. We are socially isolated from one another, as is correct. Don't go outside unless you absolutely need to. Stay in, please. Stay in and create something. And people are staying in and they're creating something. Now, what I've seen, it occurs to me that if you are making a podcast, if you had previously made a podcast where you and your friends got together, you and your co-hosts got together and you got in the same room and you created something together, you may be wondering, how am I going to do that again? Do we do it over Skype? Do we try and do a Zoom US conference or something like that? And the challenges for many of those situations is that the audio quality, because there's also a video component down, there's a lot of compression. And I know that just from using things like Zoom and Skype and FaceTime and so forth like that, the audio quality is not there. And it leads to a less than ideal experience. But there is a way. There's a way right now that you can connect to somebody else's studio, and you can have a studio-to-studio connection for free. There's a website called CleanFeed, cleanfeed.com, and I happen to be in touch. We've spoken a few times over the course of the last year or so with one of the founders, Mark Hills, who created this product specifically with sort of a studio-to-studio connection in mind. There's a free version and there's a pro version. So Mark and I connected out of the blue today, and we decided on like 3 minutes notice, we decided to just have a quick interview. One, to talk about CleanFeed, how it can help people that are sort of sheltered in place, that want to either begin creating or continue creating. How can voice actors collaborate on products, on projects? How can podcasters continue to make or create new podcasts, even if they're remote from each other? So we just sat down and we talked over CleanFeed. I'd like to share with you our interview. And Mark discovered this about 10 minutes after we did the interview. I completely screwed up. The audio connection between us was fantastic, but I was supposed to record my screen so that you can see it. And when the interview was done and I went to stop the screen recording, I noticed it said, start recording. So I'm a dummy. So the meters aren't going to match up. I'll try and show you what I was seeing on my screen, but just know that the meters aren't going to match up. And that's not CleanFeed's fault. That's El Dumbo's fault here. El Dumbo right here. So anyway, without any further, I'd like to just share the conversation that Mark and I had, and then, yeah, you'll see. Great. Well, as a way to try and demonstrate how CleanFeed works, I've actually invited one of the founders of CleanFeed on. We have Mark on the line with us. Mark, you can hear me okay, right?
Absolutely. It's nice to be here. How are you?
Great. I'm doing great. Well, I think the CleanFeed option that you've created is really appropriate and will be super useful for people who are making podcasts at this time. If there's certainly anything that we've seen recently, certainly of the subreddits that I look at, there's just an explosion of people creating at this moment. They're stuck at home, they're creating, they're looking for co-hosts, they're looking to talk, they're looking to interact. And I think what a lot of people do over Skype, it leads to a really inferior studio-to-studio connection. And I really think that's where, as you and I have discussed previously, I think that's where CleanFeed comes in. Could you sort of give me or everybody here, could you just give an overview of what CleanFeed is, how it works, that sort of thing?
So basically, the idea of CleanFeed is to get clean audio from anywhere in the world to anywhere else. And that could be because you're podcasting, it could be that your voiceover, it could be that you're doing any other kind of audio production. We wanted to make this as easy and accessible to everybody as possible, because we built this years ago. My background is in computer software and in audio as well. And And we built this, and we just thought this is such a cool thing. We wanted to get it out there and get people creating really cool stuff with it.
Sure. Well, I mean, clearly you can hear from our conversation that it's a really clean, super quiet connection, way better than anything I've heard on the Zoom conferences that I've been on, or on the Skype or FaceTime conversations.
Exactly.
It's just worlds different. It's worlds
And
different.
the thing probably to emphasize to your audience is that what you're hearing right now is what you're hearing in the studio mic. There's no post-process for collecting the audio together and mixing it down or anything. This is the live quality audio of CleanFeed.
Right. So, so what are the sort of basic system requirements? Is it Windows and Mac? Does it work everywhere? Is it a specific browser? Can we use Chrome, Firefox? What should we use?
So basically, get yourself a PC or a laptop or a Mac, and get yourself a Chrome browser. Chromium works as well if you're an open source person and you don't want to use the Google option. And that's all you need. Get that, get your microphone and your headphones, and you're all set.
That's really, I tell you, it's cool. And with the Pro feature, so maybe the thing to talk about is the distinction. Right now, what we're looking at, what I'm using is the Pro account that you provided to me. So that gives me the ability to set your microphone separate from my microphone, and they actually get downloaded as multi-tracks. I understand that on the free version, that's not quite exactly how it works. What's sort of the distinction between what we provide for free, what you provide for free, and what we get with the premium account?
So when we did this, we wanted to make sure that we had a really good feature set for everybody. So in the free version of CleanFeed, you get unlimited recording, but you don't get features like the multi-track. That's if you upgrade to the Pro, you'll get that. But you can still record a show, and you can still get this excellent live quality audio. So that's the idea. Yeah.
So if you're starting out, you're a podcaster and you're trying to create a podcast with zero budget. If you did a CleanFeed, it ends up that the audio, it all ends up on the same track, which may make editing a little bit more challenging, and that's part of the inspiration or part of the motivation to move up to a Pro account. But there's no degradation in quality. It's just that it's mixed down to a single track, right? The quality is the same.
And it's also worth, I mean, my background was in the radio industry, and it's worth looking back over the last 50 years of good interviews, and many of those were done without multi-track recording as well. Sure. So it's still a fully featured thing. And if you're starting out in podcasting, and you don't want to overcomplicate things to begin with anyway, then actually you can just dip into the CleanFeed and press record and go. And that's kind of useful in itself.
I actually think that's how a lot of, from my experience in watching how some other podcasters work, a lot of times you might have 3 or 4 or 5 mics and they're going into a mixer and they're getting mixed down to a stereo mix anyway into the browser, that you don't always get the multi-tracks. Because, many of the podcasts, they're live, they're extemporaneous, so you don't go back and do a lot of editing in.
Yeah, as long as you can level things and adjust. And that's, again, once you step up to CleanFeed Pro, and we got features like the multi-track, you can adjust the level in the software and things. You can do a little bit of extra audio routing, access higher quality network links and things. And they genuinely are kind of Pro features. If you're stepping up to those, you know why you want to step up,
right? Which
is cool in itself. Yeah,
that is cool. So, so I'm looking at right now, I see that there's a meter for you for your microphone where I can plus or minus, I can add or remove gain from yours. That's a Pro feature. So if the remote person, okay,
yeah, cool. It's a key part of CleanFeed is so. In our case, Mike, you're the studio side, as we call it. What that means is you're in control, and this is where CleanFeed is a little bit different to a chat application, like a Zoom or whatever, where everybody's peers in the conversation. In this case, it's not quite like that. You're like the studio side. You're in control, and because you've got CleanFeed Pro, you can adjust the levels. You can control things at my end and stuff. You can see which audio interface I'm using, and so on and so forth.
Sure. So that's great. I suppose the last thing I have, there's no video component to this, right? So if we had planned more than 3 minutes ahead of doing this interview, if we wanted to have you on camera in here, then it would be on you to record the video and send the video file to me. This is really for a voice studio to studio connection. This is not broadband video conferencing. This is really just high quality audio connection.
Yeah,
that right?
video is not a feature we've implemented right now. I think we want it to stay focused on audio. For many people, it's all about audio. I suspect people watching your channel right now are fascinated to watch you nodding at me because they can't see me. So yeah, maybe I got the lucky deal here. But you're we're totally focused on audio. It's nothing to stop you booting up some video alongside what you're doing. You can actually get good results with running a traditional sort of conferencing thing alongside the clean audio of CleanFeed.
Right.
You can do that. Just be careful you don't oversaturate your internet connection.
Sure.
Basically.
And I think for everybody else who's watching, so what I'm doing right now is for your benefit, Mark, is I'm recording the CleanFeed screen so they can see your meter move, and that's how you appear. And then I am also recording video of myself. But for if you are doing production as a backup, you can also create. So I'm also recording into my DAW at the same time. I wanted to make sure that I could still do that. So I can record into my DAW. That is still working just fine, and I can direct that mic also out. So it's not that CleanFeed will, it doesn't grab your mic, it doesn't take your mic away from your DAW. You can actually record into both places at once. So it does allow for a really good set of flexibility. I've been really happy with it.
Well, it's also nice that you can gradually incorporate CleanFeed into your workflow. If you already have a workflow that you feel works for you, I know that a lot of podcasters, maybe they like to do recording at different locations, at different sides of things, and we don't necessarily think that's the best thing to do. But if you want to stick with that workflow, but actually just get this lovely, clean quality audio live, you can just gradually bring CleanFeed into your workflow, but keep most of your existing parts as well. And we think that's a nice way to sort of step into this, because it's this clean audio that I think is a really useful thing. We can have a certain rapport with each other because we've got clean audio. We can chat a little bit over the top of each other or argue. It's not stop-start like those conferencing tools.
Right.
So if you want to stick with traditional conferencing, and maybe you are even doing a video podcast, do that. But why not start bringing CleanFeed in just for the clean audio aspect of things?
And I certainly think from as the sort of audio drama aspect of podcasting starts to it's becoming ever more popular. It's certainly a lot of the way that I get my entertainment when I'm out exercising. I listen to audio dramas in addition. So if you're an engineer, if you're the recording engineer, if you're the showrunner for whatever the audio drama is, being able to do directed sessions over something like this where you're actually getting the studio quality connection, being able to give direction to your actors, allowing, and I think on the pro feature we can integrate multiple people. So you could actually have two actors actually interacting with each other. You don't have to just record.
So that's not even a pro feature. That's in the basic CleanFeed as well.
Oh, really?
So you're not just limited to two-way. You can bring in multiple people into the conversation as well, and that's in the free CleanFeed too.
I didn't realize that. That's amazing.
Exactly. So it's a really great way to get started in something like that, and we're seeing really. We're seeing some really interesting uses emerge in like audio drama. That's a really exciting one where traditionally the techniques have been quite old school. And now, particularly in the time we're in at the present, don't stop doing your audio drama. Just bring people together online and do it like this.
I certainly know from a lot of when you watch animators, people who work in animated series and how they work, or certainly the audio dramas that I participate in, we record in a very, very isolated manner, and I often have to record multiple takes of the same line to try and anticipate the way the other actor will work. Having this, now we are completely isolated from our studios. We don't have to worry about crosstalk or bleed over, two people on the same mic or anything like that. Being able to have multiple actors and actually interacting in the scene, I think it does offer the possibility of a much more lifelike and engaging situation where the two actors can actually interact. It's one of the big challenges about being a voice actor, doing the drama side where you don't get the benefit of hearing the other actor. Having this scenario, this situation, really is, I think, it'd be a huge benefit for folks.
Yeah, that's it. And we're, even in this conversation, we're across continents, aren't we? I'm in the UK and you're over in the US.
For sure.
And the delay here is low enough that we're able to have this very fluid conversation. So once you get into things like audio drama, and then once you're, even if you're more local than we are, we're across the other side of the world. But once you're local, you've really got that fluid conversation, and that's what matters.
I sort of really took that for granted. I realize that we are going across the really busy bandwidth going across the ocean right now,
Yeah.
and really I detect there's no lag for me. There's no hesitancy in the conversation. We can talk very clearly with each other. Just there's no editing after the fact. This is very, very natural. There's no lag. It's really nice.
Yeah, and the thing we say to people is that the latency or the delay or the lag on CleanFeed is lower than a cell phone call would be. So imagine you were making a cell phone call between the same two locations. This conversation is going to be lower latency and even more fluid than that.
That's great. That's great. Well, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you sort of giving us the overview of CleanFeed. I'm sure that the fellow booth junkies that are out there that are that find themselves isolated at home, that are looking to interact with other podcast co-hosts, that are looking to increase their creativity at a time when they're isolated. I do think that this really offers a way to bring people together in a much more realistic. It feels so real. It feels like you're right there in the studio with me. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what we hope for. We want people to go, despite the restrictions right now, go and create something utterly amazing with this. Yeah. Go and take the free CleanFeed and just get started and get exploring and make something interesting with it.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mark. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Anytime. So let's quickly walk through how you set this up. First, you just go to cleanfeed.net, and right on the front page, big button that says Get Started. You click into it, you put in your name, your email address. It's really simple to get signed up. Create a login name, create a password. Once you've got that set up, down at the bottom, a couple of check boxes that you need to check, and you click Sign Up. You'll get a confirmation email. When you click that confirmation email, you're set. That's all you need to do. Then, once you're in CleanFeed, the first thing you'll see yourself set up, and then you can invite somebody else to your session. You give a name, you give an email address, and it will only send to that person. You can also just copy a link. If you can do it either by sending an email, or you can get a link that you can share yourself. Once your guest receives the link, they'll get a link in their email, or if you share the link with them, all they need to do is click Start. It just uses the system default, so whatever their default microphone is, you can just set that and they can just start talking, and will use whatever microphone they have attached. And it will be as clear as that microphone can be, really high bandwidth connection between the two. Now you see, they don't actually have much in the way of controls. They just see that your mic is hot or their mic is hot and who's talking. As the host, you see them join, and you'll be able to see their meter and your meter, and you get some extra controls at the top. Most importantly, the one that says Record, where you'll be able to record all of the session. When you click Record, you just give the session a name, and then you can decide whether or not you want your audio on one side and them on the other. If you want to have it all one track, you can record just yourself, you can record just them, whatever suits your needs. Then you'll see that there's a new item, a new lane in your little DAW here in the browser that will show that it's recording. And at the end, there's that download link on the right-hand side where it will just download it as a zip when you're done recording. You can drag those into your DAW and you'll be ready to go. So as you could see, that was unaltered audio connecting two studios across the ocean at a time when internet bandwidth is through the roof. The CleanFeed product, it really works. I'm a believer in it. They gave me the free account, but otherwise there was no compensation for that. It's just a product I believe in. As you can see, Mark is just a genuinely really nice guy. And the product that they're putting out, it's amazing. If you can afford to support them through buying a monthly subscription, I highly encourage it. If you just need to use the free one, go and use the free one. But if it can help you make a higher quality product during this time, then use it. Use it for all it's worth. I hope that helps. Now, stay at home. Stay inside. Shelter in place. Record something amazing. Thanks. We'll talk to you next time.